Not too far back. So y'all too far back. Yep. Oh, that's fine. Oh, there you go. Sure. I was about to do half tour, but since you're here, I was gonna do half tour. All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Um, today's I'm start off. We're gonna start with half tour today, which comes from the book of Hosea 2. Gonna be Hosea 2 1 through 22. And today, Hosea. Today's portion is gonna be pretty much. Half tour is pretty much talking about um, the different states that Israel was in, as far as being a prostitute, as well as being or a prostitute like figure, as well as being redeemed out of this state.
What was the chapters?
It's gonna be Hosea chapters 2, and it's gonna be 1 through 22, I believe. I have to get a time so everybody get there. Everybody's getting there. I'm still getting there myself. Yeah, I'm gonna read.
Yeah,
We started or you got it?
I can start.
Yeah.
One through, or just read.
Yeah, let's read. It's only one chapter.
Share which chapter?
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Say to your brothers Amai, and to your sisters Ruhamah, take up the cause against your mother. Take it up, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. Let her put away her loose ways from her face, and her false ways from between her breasts. For I fear that I may take away her robe from her, making her uncovered, as in the day of her birth, making her like a waste place in a dry land, causing her death through need of water. And I will have no mercy on her children, for they are the children of her loose ways.
Okay, hold on a couple seconds. All right. This pretty much is stating. Before we get any further, today's Parsha Torah is Barmabar. Barmabar, which means into the wilderness. So I just wanted to point that out, as far as like this is when he's speaking here, when Hosea is speaking here, he's speaking of sending her back into her original state, which would be in the wilderness. So in the wilderness, she's if we look at 7, she's realizing that it wasn't greener on the other side of the fence. Apparently, it wasn't. It wasn't what she expected. She probably had the whole lifestyle, like the glamour, the glitter, and stuff like that. But the person who she thought it was her lover wasn't actually her lover. It was just she was a slave to him, or just wasn't a wife. Wasn't like the Most High was treating his wife, or how Israel was being treated by the Most High. When if you think of um, how Israel was being toyed with throughout the different nations, how the different like the Assyrians toyed with them, the Egyptians, they was going back and forth with the Egyptians on whether the Egyptians was going to even be their allies or not, because one minute Egypt was on their side, the next minute Egypt was going against them. But you have like all these other nations where Israel will try to try to become Israel, join their nations or something like that, or accept their ways or accept their cultures. Excuse me, instead of accepting the laws and statutes that the Most High provided, because their culture seemed a little bit more easier, or their ways seemed a little bit less strict, or
More profitable.
yeah, exactly. Just more easier, less responsible for what they have to do. Um, than being with the Most High, than following some of his rules and some of his statutes and stuff like that, but then yet still gaining all the blessings that he had to offer. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to mention that's why people gravitated towards the Christian church so easy, because they don't have to do all the tour. They don't have to do none of that.
Exactly.
And but yet, they doing this positive prosperity message, and so people like, well, I don't have to be accountable for my actions no more. I got him. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's what I see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's when I look at the Christian church and stuff as well. Like, it's exactly what you're saying. It's pretty much by
It's like a
they
pass.
they'll
They
go
don't have
to
do
it.
the tour.
Yeah, they go to the tour to grab out
Positive messages.
positives back. Like I was like I heard it red-handed. Like, heard it myself. Lady said, I was right across the hallway. Lady said it was speaking on tithing, and she said if you want to know the blessings of tithing, look at Deuteronomy 28. And I was like tithing. Like, you see the blessings of a tither if you look at Deuteronomy 28. And I'm like, out of all the verses and all the books and stuff like that, she picks Deuteronomy 28, which lists the most curses for not following the Torah, and lists the blessings for following Torah. So not really nothing that had to do with tithing, period. But yet she's pulling out the blessings, because they're like the Deuteronomy 28's blessings is pretty awesome. I mean, anybody can I want those blessings, but it's not about tithing. She's like, if you want a relationship with the Most High, or you want to grow your relationship stronger with the Most High, tithe. But then yet we'll turn around and say the exact same spot that says, or they're quoting, or you need a tithe from. They're telling you not to keep the commandments, or not to keep the statutes or laws or stuff like that. Where these curses are in exact same chapter. You don't even have to flip a page or anything, like go back and forth, or the exact same chapter. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely the whole step of trying to find something easy to take, or find an easier route to take, or trying to. I mean, it's not necessarily saying like you don't want to work smarter. I mean, whether work smarter than not harder, But it's one thing of saying that, then, or just not accepting any type of responsibilities, or not accepting, or just trying to find the easiest way out, or anything like that. Yes.
Well, some people was raised Christian,
Mm-hmm.
so some people feel as if that's what their belief is. Just like we believe Hebrew is the way, or Israelites. We supposed to be
And
right.
that's true. That's
So,
true.
I mean, it's not all about taking an easy route out.
It was because they was raised that, but then that's where they were most comfortable is at too. Like, you're always gonna return to where you was most comfortable as well. Even if it was right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people. I mean, think about it, it's like in the slave days. You know what I'm saying? You was running. You was in the wilderness, or just to even think about like what slave days. You know how many people was on the Underground Railroad? How many people that Harriet Tubman had to shoot because they was like, oh, I'm going back. You know what I'm saying? But you can't just go back. You know what I'm saying? Like think of like Lot's wife. You know, she wanted to turn around and go back as well. You know, but she turned to the side. You know, you if you decide you want to turn back now, then you have to go back on your own. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to move forward through the wilderness or something like that, then you got to keep on chugging. You got to keep on. You got to hold. You got to be guided by the Most High and stuff like that. You got to pretty much follow His ways and stuff. And yet, you may not know where you're going. I mean, that's why it says that. You know, David says, "I walk through the valley of the shadow of death."
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable, unknown
It's not
journey.
exactly. You're not really knowing where you're going. He said, Most High says, you know, I come like the wind. I mean, I'm like the wind. You know, He's like the wind. You know, you're not knowing where He's coming or not knowing where He's going. But you know, you got to go somewhere, and it's going to be doing something. You know, and as far as blowing some seeds across the land or some pollen across the land, so another flower can get fertilized and produce more land, or guiding some bird through the air, or spinning a propeller. You know, something is being done with the movement of the Most High as He done with the wind. You're not really knowing exactly what you're doing when you're moving or where you're going, but you know every time you're moving or every time you're going fro or to, you're doing something in the process that actually affects the Most High's will, or not necessarily affects the Most High, but it's being motivated by the Most High will. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like when like that's why David was speaking about the valley of the shadow of death. He won't feel no evil because of the simple fact that you're going to the unknown, which a lot of this man's problem period is the fear of going into the unknown, or just walking into the unknown, not really knowing what's there, you know, or not really walking over that ledge. I mean, knowing that we have the ability to fly or the ability to manipulate gravity, but then, yeah, we are tamed by gravity, so we walking into the unknown. You know, we're not gonna just walk into the unknown as far as, okay, yeah, we actually have that, but it's a whole mind thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a whole mind thing. But seeing how like back with like with the Christianity, it's all takes down. Yeah, because even in Islam, like there's a lot of people who don't really want to do a lot of stuff with Islam. You know, as far as like their traditions and stuff like that. They have a lot of rules and rituals and stuff that they must follow and they must upheed and stuff like that too as well.
But it's all Torah based, you know.
Yeah, and it's all really come back. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the end, it's really all Torah based and stuff like that. So you know, you have a lot of people that make up all kinds of excuses or anything like that to say, okay, well, yeah, it's done away with, or it was given to Israel, or it was given only to Israel. There was a lot of stuff that was only given to Israel, you know, because a lot of stuff has to deal with Israel, and there's a lot of people that's out here that's teaching that, you know, a lot of stuff that was given to Israel, a lot of things that was for Israel. Like for instance, like, you know, like they'll say like the old covenant is done away with, but then I'm like, which covenant? You know, there was 7 different covenants. You know what I'm saying? There were 7 different covenants that's been given since Abraham. I mean, since Adam to now. So I'm like, when you saying old covenants, what do you mean by old covenant is done away with? It's a new covenant. You know what I'm saying? So they'll pick out this new covenant and stuff like that. Yeah, and say the law is done away with, but then yet what comes with this new covenant is a set of rules and regulations that you must obey, or else you're called the lawless one. But then yet they say that Torah is done away with, which is pretty much the law. You don't have to follow the law, or you're underneath the law, or anything like that. And
Excuse me, I just wanted to mention that I don't understand why they say it's done away with when Jesus Christ Himself followed the Torah and all the commandments and judgments according to the 5 books of the Bible.
before and after.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? His followers
He
were
says,
still.
you know, he said, "Don't be like me, be better." That meant follow the Torah, keep Yah first, and you know, let me be the example.
Exactly.
But they worship Him instead of His ways.
And even with that, it's no different from Hebrews worshiping Moses or Torah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really no difference. I mean, if or I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, I need to turn this around, sorry. But it's not even saying that, you know, like Torah is not important, or it's not important to have, or you shouldn't honor it, or you shouldn't cherish a Torah or a Torah scroll or anything like that. But it's when you look at that Torah as being absolute.
Mhm.
You know, that's when it becomes that's when it becomes a religion, when you looking at it as absolute.
It's a guide.
And there's I mean, though it needs to be the foundation or the center of everything, and everything that you pretty much pick up on is based off of Torah, but it's not necessarily saying that you should avoid other things if it's speaking on Torah. But that's when it becomes religion. That's when it becomes a certain religion, when you try to keep it in a certain circle. Um, but or when you try to look at a certain being as being absolute, or pitting them in the place of the Most High. You know, so that's why in Jude it says that he had that they had the Most High had to hide the body, or had to fight over the body of Moses, because they was going to do the exact same thing to Moses. Wrap him up, worship him as an idol or something like that. And the exact same thing happened with Yahshua. We don't, even though we can't find his body now. I mean, there's no saying that the Most High probably took it. You know what I'm saying? Just for that simple fact. But then yet they had to still add a certain image to it. Good thing that they didn't really take his body and stuff like that and then set it there and made it as an image. But then yet they had to make their own image, but then yet still call it Yahshua or Jesus or something like that. But that's what this is pretty much getting at, is that we see this one deity or so, and a certain characteristics have been placed onto him, and it made it sound a little bit more. And that's leaven. All that is leaven. That's the whole. That's the whole reason. I mean, I wouldn't say the whole reason of why we go through Passover, but it's also a symbolic reason, is that why we eat leaven, is to kind of get rid of all that extra stuff that makes it rise and puff up and look more lumps. Because you see a thin piece of masa or stuff like that, or unleavened and stuff like that, but then yet you see this big old loaf, not knowing that they weigh exactly the same amount. But a lot of people are going to gravitate to the loaf of bread, or the thick loaf, because it's more bigger. It looks more like you know what I'm saying? And that's
More
what.
filling.
Yeah, it looks more filling, even though it's not more filling. It's the exact same amount. You're gonna get filled the exact same way as you have this thin piece of bread. But the thin piece of bread don't look presentable. And that's the difference between, with this, Yahshua that taught of the Torah, is this JC character that really pretty much is the lawless one. Because like everybody's whole ideal is that he's done away with the law. It's been nailed to the cross. It was only for the Jews and stuff like that, but yeah, he came for the Gentiles. He had to say the Gentiles. Gentiles don't have to do it. And you get all this stuff. I mean, even to the point of twisting even the words of Paul. You know what I'm saying? Where people don't even want to deal with this no more. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that. I don't even want to deal with it no more. So with the whole Yahshua character and stuff like that, just because of this whole little thing, because how much. I mean, in the end, strong brothers on. In the end, what they taught, what Moses taught, what every single prophet taught, is to follow and obey the commandments. You know what I'm saying? Honoring the Father. No more, no less. A lot. The 600 plus laws, that came after it, is just all because to follow the steps of, okay, well, if you break this law, then you have to do this, or to abstain cleanliness from this law, you have to do this. But in the end, it was first placed into our hearts, made placed into our DNA. Then it was orally taught through the sons of God, or through from Shem all the way down to then it was brought written down by hand with Moses, and then from there it became flesh. If you want to say it was in Yahshua, and he lived the perfect example. I think that every single prophet lived that example as well. But we have so many examples and stuff like that. But all pretty much being taught is that accept responsibilities for yourself. Don't depend on anything else, like whether it's an animal or a human. Either way, just accept responsibility, because either way you're gonna die, period, for your sins anyway. So the best thing to do is, if anything, don't make it a burden if you keep in the Torah. Don't say, okay, well, I did this for, I feel shame upon myself because, I didn't make it a prayer in time, or I didn't say my prayers the night before, don't make it a burden onto yourself. That's the whole point of it. That's what Yahshua came in and tried to